Can we talk about Spider-Man for a minute? Spider-Man Far From Home stars Tom Holland, Samuel L. Jackson, Jake Gyllenhaal, Marissa Tomei, and is directed by John Watts. What is up, guys? It's time to review a brand new 2019 movie, and it's a new Spider-Man movie, actually. If you remember, 2 years ago, I think Spider-Man Homecoming came out. This is like, now correct me if, is this like the 8th, 9th, 10th Spider-Man movie? I don't even know. I remember back when the first one came out, and I always wanted a live-action Spider-Man movie. It was like the biggest deal to me, and when it finally came out, it was good. And so I was just like, wow, we actually have not only a Spider-Man movie, but a good Spider-Man movie. It's aged a little bit, but then Spider-Man 2 came out, and that's still, to me, one of the greatest superhero movies out there. To this day, still. Homecoming, I did not like at all, especially on that second watch. The first watch, it was okay. There's things I liked about it. I liked Michael Keaton as the Vulture in it. But I really hated Peter Parker's friends, because it just felt like that forced PC stuff, and it just didn't feel natural at all, and they all felt like they were jumping right out of a Coke commercial. Whereas like in the previous Spider-Man movies, even the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I liked Peter Parker's friends and the side characters and the bullies and all that stuff. But you know, they just felt like they were trying to check a box and be cool, and it sucked to me. I really hated it. And then they had Spider-Man like jumping on rooftops in suburbia. I want my Spider-Man swinging through the city, like in New York City, skyscrapers. Give me that stuff. And there was very little of that stuff in the last movie. So it's not a movie I ever want to watch again, if I'm being honest. I rank it like in probably the bottom 10 of my MCU ranking. But we're here to talk about Far From Home. I went into this one really gun shy because of Homecoming. And I came out of it loving it, which shocked me, because those characters are still there. And if I can jump right into that, for some reason it worked this time around, especially when it came to like his best friend and MJ. Those two characters were great. I just felt like all the characters felt much more natural with each other this go around. The plot synopsis, you already know the plot synopsis. It's Spider-Man over in the UK. You know, he goes to the UK because he wants to get away from all the responsibility and be an Avenger. And this is post Iron Man passing away. So, you know, he's stressed. This is a freaking high school kid. Of course he's going to be stressed. So he tries to get away from it all. And who does he run into when he gets over there? He runs into Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. There's not very much I can tell you about the plot in this movie, because it has some crazy twists in it. I don't want to say crazy twists, but it has a big twist in it. And once the twist comes into play, if you think back to like Iron Man 3, not saying it's the same twist as that, but I'm just saying that one really took everybody by storm. Like, what the hell just happened? This is one of those types of twists, and you know who Mysterio is. Most people know that Mysterio, he ends up being a bad guy. So that's not the twist. But I'm not going to tell you that. But one thing I will say about this movie is it's bigger than the last movie. It feels like the budget's much bigger. The action set pieces are insane in this movie. And I think it's got a great gradual pace to it, because it does take a while for Peter Parker to go full-on Spider-Man. And once he does, though, it's super satisfying. The last act in this movie is so good, actually, because I was hoping that I'd get some really great Spider-Man action with all the web slinging. It's a spectacle. It's a massive, massive set piece, and it works so well, actually. Now, as far as like, you know, in Spider-Man, you're going to get like comedy and stuff like that. I thought they went a little bit too far in Homecoming with the comedy. Or maybe the comedy just didn't land. I think that's the big problem. Because I like comedy in a Spider-Man movie. Most of the comedy in this movie landed, and I think that's because I really enjoyed these characters. You know, they worked on this little love story between Peter Parker and Mary Jane in this movie. And it felt like a little John Hughes type movie. You know, this little side step movie where Peter Parker, he really wants to just go to the top of the Eiffel Tower and he wants to tell Mary Jane how he feels about her. And because early in the movie they built up all this stuff between those two characters, I liked it. And I was actually invested in what was going on with these two characters outside of the crazy stuff with Mysterio and Spider-Man. Now, as far as Mysterio, it's not the best villain as far as Spider-Man villains go, because I'll say this, Spider-Man has the best villains out of any comic book character I've ever seen. I don't know why, but there's so many great Spider-Man villains, and Mysterio was one that interested me. And Jake Gyllenhaal does a fantastic job in this movie. He really does, but I will say there's a twist in the movie that might change up things as far as like what you like about Mysterio. But I don't dislike it. And, you know, it's saved by the big action set piece at the end. Also, I will say, I usually don't talk about like mid-credit scenes. You can ignore the very, because there's two credit scenes in this one, the mid-credits and the end credits. I think you can just kind of ignore the last one. You're going to watch it anyway. But the mid-credit scene is one of the best mid-credit scenes I've seen in the MCU. It is that good, and it sets things way up for the next Spider-Man movie, which I'm really looking forward to it now after that mid-credit scene. It's insane. Also, if I have to jump into the cons a little bit, there is this side plot with Happy Hogan and Aunt May, which felt kind of like a waste. But, I mean, it didn't take me out of the movie at all. And it's such a small part of the movie that it didn't bother me. And Marissa Tomei still looks amazing in this movie. So that's not a bad thing at all. Okay? I'm giving this movie a freaking super high purchase worthy. It was that good to me. I would probably rank it in like my maybe top 3, top 4 Spider-Man movies. It's that good. Can't wait to own this one on 4K. So, post in the comments your thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we'll do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.